Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Welcome to This Week in Geek History.
We need to be put in check.
Whatever form that takes, I'm game.
I'm sorry, Tony.
If I see a situation pointed south, I can't ignore it. Sometimes I wish I could.
Sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect teeth.
Captain America Civil War. It's huge. No, really, it's enormous. Everyone's talking about it. You're talking about it. The internet's talking about it. Now I'm talking about it. Damn it, Josh! But you know what? We're not going to go with the movies. We're talking about the books. These are amazing, and it's where it all started. Marvel Civil War is a fantastic series that came out in 2006. It's by Mark Miller and Steve McNiven, and I would give you a spoiler warning, but it came out in 2006. So if you're really concerned about learning anything about the Marvel Cinematic Universe or having any spoilers happen, get over yourself. All right, so we're going to go through these series that not only spawned 7 parts, but also tie-in after tie-in after tie-in. We're going to stay here. Let's get going. Marvel Civil War was extremely indicative of the time that it was written. During this time, we had a lot of issues in America regarding terrorism, media sensationalism, reality TV shows, and what Marvel did, being Marvel, is it decided to take a whole new twist on all of this in its meta world. So we start our adventure here in Civil War issue number 1. Now the events leading up to Civil War are also very important. We had a lot of different events that happened, like the Secret Wars, M-Day, and Hulk rampaging through Las Vegas, which have already caused uneasiness with the general public about superheroes, which all leads up to this big event which kicks off the start of the series. This event is that there's a group of teenagers with their own reality TV show led by Speedball, and they are deciding to get their ratings up, and what they do is they go after Nitro. Now, Nitro is a bit more of an A-class supervillain, and during the course of the battle, he actually blows up an elementary school. This incident ends up leading to the creation of the Superhero Registration Act. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the X-Men, we know that they had their Mutant Registration Act, which meant that anyone could know who is a mutant and who is not. If you want to figure out about what happened with that, read about it. But this one here is a little more involved. This actually would go so far as to make sure that any superhero that was registered would have to actually get military training in order to do any kind of heroism. That any superhero who is around, they have to give their secret identity, etc., etc., etc. Anyways, Captain America feels this will create a big war. After a bunch of emotional scenes, Tony Stark really gets behind it, and then ultimately Captain America has to jump out of a moving helicarrier because he's Captain America, and that's what he does. Anyways, moving on. Issue 2 takes an interesting turn. We have a big discussion on the secret identity idea part of the Superhero Registration Act. Heroes start turning on heroes, villains start cooperating with some of the heroes. We start seeing people really starting to take sides, and one of the most powerful things, one of the most crazy things that happens in Civil War in issue 2 is, of course, Tony Stark convincing Spider-Man to reveal himself as Peter Parker to the public. Now, this is an interesting thing because in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, secret identities really aren't that big of a deal. The movie-going audience hasn't really felt that. Maybe if you're watching Netflix, you got Daredevil going, you have Jessica Jones, and so you got these things happening there. But if you're watching and you're following along with Captain America, Thor, and the Hulk, you're not really invested in the idea of a secret identity. So it'll be interesting to see if that's something that's brought in, especially since this will be the first appearance of Spider-Man sort of joining in with this Avengers and being part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in its continuity. Issue 3 and 4 kind of see a lot of really monumental movements. What we start seeing is people changing sides. We start the Fantastic Four starts off their battle with Tony Stark for the registration until Johnny Storm gets his ass handed to him, and then they decide to switch sides and help. In fact, if it wasn't for Sue Storm, the Captain America's Secret Avengers would have just been completely obliterated. In fact, in issue 3, we see this amazing battle between Captain America and Tony Stark, where they're trying to hold back, not kill each other. but then ultimately a new character is introduced, which is clone Thor. The real Thor is dead, so we have a clone robot Thor who comes in and pretty much almost kills everyone. In fact, he does kill someone, and this is a big deal. He ends up killing Goliath. And this is a very big deal. A big character is murdered almost instantly in this event, and no pun intended. If you have not chosen a side by issue 5, then Marvel's not doing its job. Seriously, you guys, by this point, the lines are so thick in the sand, it's ridiculous, with the linchpin in the center being Spider-Man. Now this is fascinating because we've all seen the scene with Spider-Man on top of the car with the shield in his hand, but we don't know what that means or how this character is going to be used. I mean, is it just an idea between Civil War of Sony and Disney? Who knows? But the point is that at this point, Spider-Man really sets things in motion. What ends up happening is he discovers that not only Project 42 that Reed Richards set up is going to indefinitely imprison superheroes, but also that vigilante villains are being used, and that even Tony Stark was using his Iron Spidey suit to collect data on superheroes. So all of this encapsulates. Spider-Man decides to run away and just almost gets killed. Punisher comes in, which was amazing, saves Spider-Man's life, brings him to Captain America, and once again, more and more the sides are drawn. As we go into issue 6, they decide to go ahead and make a final assault on the Baxter building and go in, and it is hero against hero with all of these different characters coming in on a giant, just Mark Miller amalgam of battle that will just end in carnage, with a really great tie-in to Doctor Strange. Now at this point, Doctor Strange is not getting involved, and yet maybe he is, and we end up seeing more of that later on. So here we are at the pivotal issue number 7. And let's take a look. So we have, looks like a fight scene. Starts off with a fight scene, that's good. Fight scene, there's a fight scene, battle, fight scene, battle, shouting. Shouting's good. Fight scene, battle, fight scene, shouting, more shouting, that's good. Fight scene, see they're fighting, that's fighting. Oh, a face gets smashed in, that's kind of awesome. Battle, shouting, battle. Oh, and Captain America turns himself in. Yeah, and Civil War is over, and Captain America's side loses. Awesome. But wait, what about all the stuff that was happening with Spider-Man and 42 and Doctor Strange? He was on the mountain thing. Doctor Strange, we have Doctor Strange. That's important. Well, first and foremost, you should go out and read Civil War. It's amazing. You should read all of them. But wait, you say, I don't have time to go out and read all of those books before Captain America Civil War comes out. Well, don't worry, Mr. Hand, because next week we will be here reviewing and looking over the history of 50 State Initiative and Fallen Sun here on This Week in Geek History.